Before starting this video, please do watch recap of Nobody Part 1 available on our YouTube channel. The story continues with Hutch sitting in an interrogation room, looking bruised and exhausted, his finger broken. He flicks a lighter and presses the flame against his injured hand, trying to numb the pain. Beside him sits his loyal dog, quietly watching. Two agents sit across from him, studying him closely as they begin to question his identity. Sometime earlier, Hutch resumes his old life as an assassin, carrying out contracts assigned by the barber to repay his debt to the Russians for destroying the Obshak. His dangerous work begins to create distance between him and his wife Becca, as well as their children, Brady and Sammy. The strain of separation grows heavier on him, and he becomes increasingly aware of how much his choices are pulling him away from his family. Hutch is assigned to retrieve a data card, and after completing the mission, he delivers it to the barber. The barber questions him about the delay, but Hutch says the task was far from simple. He faces multiple groups after the same card. First, he fights off several men in an elevator before taking the data card from an IT specialist. Soon after, Corsicans armed with MP7s arrive, forcing him into another violent encounter. In the parking lot, a group of Brazilians shows up with machetes, and Hutch deals with them as well. He notices an advertisement for Plummerville, a summer town, and thinks about taking his family on a vacation. When he mentions the idea to the barber, who wants to assign him another mission, Hutch refuses. The barber walks away, telling him that violence is part of his nature, and he can never escape it. The words leave Hutch deeply unsettled, stirring a conflict within him he can't ignore. Plummerville is a place his father David used to take him and his brother Harry to when they were children. With summer break approaching, he decides it's the right time to reconnect with his family and suggests a trip there. Becca and the kids agree, and Hutch assures her that during their time away, he will leave his work completely behind and focus only on them. The Mansell family stops by David's retirement home to bring him along for the trip. The drive to Plummerville is filled with laughter and songs as they enjoy the time together. When they arrive, David offers his room to Brady since there are not enough rooms for everyone. As the kids settle in, Hutch takes Becca to the special honeymoon suite he reserved for them. She admires the room's beauty, and the two share a quiet, intimate moment before Sammy unexpectedly interrupts them. Later, the family plans to visit the water park, but upon arrival, they learn it is closed because of an earlier incident. As compensation, they receive hot dog coupons, so Hutch takes everyone to a nearby diner for lunch instead. While they wait for their meal, Hutch drifts into memories of visiting the same place years ago with his father David and his brother Harry. His quiet nostalgia draws the attention of the local sheriff, Abel, who begins to watch him with suspicion. The family heads to the arcade after receiving free passes. Inside, Hutch tries to connect with Brady, who is still nursing a black eye, supposedly from a football game, though it seems more likely to have come from a fight. Brady notices a group of girls watching him and hands them some of his tickets, then uses the rest to win a prize for Sammy. One of the girls' boyfriends, Max, becomes aggressive, tearing Sammy's prize in half to provoke him. Brady reacts instantly, punching Max and twisting his arm until the arcade security rushes in. The guard grabs Brady and pushes him out, while Hutch steps in to explain and defend his son. Despite his efforts, the family is told to leave. As Sammy bends down to pick up her toy, the same security staff strikes her on the head. Hutch freezes for a moment, trying to contain his rage as they walk out of the arcade. But his anger quickly overpowers him. He storms back inside and brutally beats the guard who hits Sammy, along with another employee who tries to intervene. The chaos draws Becca and the rest of the family back inside, and they manage to pull Hutch away before he goes any further. The police soon arrive, forcing the family to come to the station. Becca questions why the bullies are not being held as well, but the officer ignores her. While Hutch tries to explain to Brady that protecting his sister is important, but there are better ways to handle such situations. Brady is stunned by the words, reminding his father that he was the one who couldn't control his anger. Hutch admits that his son must learn to be better than him. Sheriff Abel then steps in and takes Hutch to his office, where Wyatt Martin is waiting. Wyatt, the owner of the Plummerville theme park and Max's father, sits in the sheriff's chair, seething with anger over his son's injured pitching arm. Hutch attempts to reason with him, explaining that Max provoked the fight by going after his daughter. Wyatt ignores his words and orders the Mansell family to leave town immediately. Hutch agrees to go, but as he leaves, Abel quietly instructs his men to follow Hutch and make sure to get rid of him. That night, Becca's frustration finally erupts. She tells Hutch that Brady is learning his anger by watching him handle problems with violence. Hutch tries to calm her and asks her to forget everything that happened, but Becca grows suspicious, believing he might be on another mission. Her eyes fall on the black bag he brought along. When she checks it, she finds a bottle of wine inside. Hutch explains that it's from the same year they first met. The gesture softens her anger and she embraces him, asking for forgiveness. The next morning, Hutch takes the family on a duckboat ride. While he notices several of Abel's men shadowing them, Hero E quickly makes a plan, sending Becca, David, and the kids on one boat while he boards another, drawing the men's attention toward himself. He tries to defuse the tension, but the goons attack. Hutch reveals his true side, fighting back with brutal efficiency. Though he defeats them, he is wounded and loses his pinky finger during the struggle before being thrown overboard. The attackers warns the officer that Hutch is no ordinary man and demanding higher pay for the job. The officer admits he wasn't aware of who they were dealing with. Moments later, Hutch resurfaces from the water, alive and furious. The men panic as he climbs back aboard and continues to beat them mercilessly. Before leaving, he strikes their leader and orders him to tell his boss that he is only on vacation. Later, the injured officer, missing several teeth, contacts Abel to inform him that Hutch escaped their ambush. Meanwhile, Abel is at the Martin warehouse overseeing the movement of illegal shipments. During this time, Hutch reaches out to his brother Harry and asks for help. Harry explains that Plummerville has long served as a hidden hub for drug trafficking and bootlegging, which is why their father David used to bring them there as kids. He had been on a mission of his own. Seeking more details, Hutch contacts the barber for additional information. The barber reveals that Plummerville is a major backroad hub for criminal operations, all controlled by a ruthless woman named Lendina. At that very moment, Lendina is inside her casino, playing poker against an opponent. When she realizes he has been cheating, she kills him, then turns on her dealer and every witness in the room. The barber warns Hutch not to provoke her under any circumstances. Hutch, however, asks for an address, intending to confront the situation and bring it under control. Afterward, Lendina contacts Wyatt, who informs her that this latest shipment clears his debt. Lendina, however, coldly reminds him that such a debt can never truly be repaid and warns that if he pushes her too far, he will meet the same fate as his father. Wyatt feels trapped, desperate to free himself from her control, but Lendina's grip on him is unshakable. Once the call ends, Lendina speaks with Abel, who secretly works for her and betrays Wyatt behind his back. She instructs Abel to keep Wyatt obedient by taking his son, ensuring that Wyatt remains under her power. Becca grows anxious when Hutch remains missing for a long time. Just as worry begins to take over, a knock sounds at the door. The family tenses, but it turns out to be David, who has come to take them somewhere safe. Meanwhile, Abel kidnaps Max and holds him hostage to keep Wyatt under control. Hutch tracks down a warehouse where Abel and Lendina's men are gathered around a massive pile of cash intended for Lendina. He drenches the money in gasoline and demands that Abel leave his family alone. Abel initially threatens him, but when Hutch prepares to set the cash on fire, Abel reluctantly gives in and tells him to go. As Hutch turns to leave, he catches sight of Max being dragged away by the goons. For a moment he hesitates, torn between protecting his family and doing what is right. He steps outside, drives his car, but soon returns, driven by instinct. Storming into the warehouse, he unleashes his fury, taking down Abel's men one by one. When one attacker tries to kill him with a table saw, Hutch forces the man's head onto the spinning blade. After the last goon falls and only Abel remains, Hutch frees Max and fires a shot into a light fixture. Sparks fall onto the gasoline-soaked cash, igniting the flames. Abel flees as the warehouse erupts into a massive explosion, while Hutch escapes with Max, leaving the chaos behind. Lendina soon discovers that all her assets have been destroyed. Her men bring her surveillance photos showing Hutch and his family in Plummerville, confirming who is responsible. Abel, scarred and badly burned but still alive, contacts her to report that the Mansells are still in town. He urges her to gather more men and strike back. Furious, Lendina vows revenge and declares open war on Hutch and his family, mobilizing her forces to hunt them down. Hutch had previously instructed David to take Becca, the kids, and Brady to a nearby lodge, knowing that Lendina's people will target their hotel first. Hutch also brings Max there. As they settle in, Becca's anger resurfaces. She confronts Hutch for breaking his promise to stay away from violence. Hutch, weary and guilt-ridden, tells her that she and the children should leave him for good, admitting that trouble follows him wherever he goes. Becca, however, refuses to let him sink into self-blame. She reminds him that he is still a father and that, despite everything, he always finds his way back to them. Meanwhile, Wyatt grows increasingly anxious when his son fails to answer his calls. Hutch finds him in a drunken rage, furious and terrified over Max's disappearance. When Wyatt tries to attack him, Hutch restrains him and assures him that Max is safe. He reveals that he destroyed the warehouse and everyone inside it. Shocked by the news, Wyatt thanks Hutch for saving his son. Wyatt then confides in Hutch about his history with Lendina and the hatred he carries for her. When Hutch asks what Lendina will do next, Wyatt grimly explains that she has wiped out entire generations for far less, and she is likely already on her way to Plummerville. Determined to prepare, Wyatt shows Hutch his late father's secret arsenal, an extensive collection of weapons once meant to be used against Lendina before she had him killed. They clear out the entire theme park, turning it into a battleground. Harry soon arrives unexpectedly to help his brother. While setting up defenses, Hutch releases a wild wolf dog. The two form an instant bond. Together with David and Harry, Hutch and Wyatt begin rigging traps and fortifying the area for the fight to come. At the same time, Becca hands responsibility over to Brady, telling him to look after the others while she steps out for a walk. She takes a nearby rifle with her, ready to join the battle in her own way. Lendina and her army of gunmen arrive at the theme park, prepared for war. She sends one of her top henchmen to the nearby lodge after spotting the Mansell family through satellite surveillance. The man gathers a team of armed men and heads there to eliminate them. At the park, Abel guides Lendina and her forces to Hutch and Wyatt's position. When Abel orders them to surrender, they refuse. Annoyed by his hesitation and arrogance, Lendina coldly orders her men to execute him. Abel collapses dead, and the assault begins. Hutch and Wyatt spring their traps with precision, explosives hidden in ball pits, tripwires rigged to grenades, and mines buried beneath tear through Lendina's men one after another. Each step forward becomes a death sentence for the attackers. Meanwhile, at the lodge, Brady bravely fights off one of the intruders, while Max hides Sammy in a secure spot. Just as the danger peaks, Harry bursts through the door, wielding his katana. He cuts down the gunman with swift, precise strikes before coming face-to-face with henchmen, one of Lendina's most feared enforcers. After a fierce exchange, Harry gains the upper hand and decapitates Cartouche, ending the fight in a single decisive blow. Most of the park's henchmen are down, but Hutch, David, and Wyatt have all been incapacitated. Lendina prepares to have Hutch executed, but Wyatt shoots one of her henchwomen before she can kill Hutch. That woman's partner goes nuts and tries to kill Wyatt in retaliation, but she is shot too. Lendina then takes matters into her own hands and aims at Hutch. But Becca appears, rifle in hand, and shoots Lendina in the chest. When Lendina demands to know who she is, Becca calmly declares herself as Hutch's better half. In a final act of defiance, Lendina hurls a knife at her, but Becca fires again and dodges it, hitting Lendina in the eye with tranquilizer darts. As the last wave of gunmen storms the park, David musters his remaining strength and triggers the final explosives. Hutch and Becca leap into a pool as a massive fire engulfs the park. The blast consumes everything, with Lendina giving a faint, defiant grin just before she and her remaining men are obliterated in the explosion. Hutch and Becca are later seen in an interrogation room, sitting side by side with their dog nearby. The agents question them intensely until a call comes from their superiors, ordering them to release the couple. Reluctantly, the agents inform Hutch and Becca that they are free to go. Sometime later, the Mansell family returns home. Together, they sit and watch a slideshow of photos from their trip, images of laughter, family moments. As the pictures fade across the screen, Hutch relaxes beside his loved ones. a quiet smile forming on his face as he finally enjoys a rare moment of peace with his family.